Welcome back to Capital Catch-Up, your insider's guide to the marble halls of Washington. I'm Victor.
And I'm Lenny. It is the first week of February 2026, and if you thought the 119th Congress was going to ease into the new year, the schedule we're looking at says otherwise.
Absolutely. We have a legislative docket that is frankly overflowing. We're seeing a massive legislative push regarding the District of Columbia, some significant movement on Veterans Affairs, and a political firestorm brewing in the Oversight Committee that feels like a blast from the past.
A blast from the past is putting it mildly, Victor. But before we get to the headlines that are going to dominate cable news, let's look at the legislation that is actually moving through the House. The most striking trend in this batch of data is the sheer volume of bills targeting Washington, D.C. itself.
It's practically an intervention. We're counting at least 9 separate bills focused on D.C. governance and criminal justice. We have House Resolution 5107, the Common Sense Law Enforcement and Accountability Now in D.C. Act, and House Resolution 5172, the Strong Sentences for Safer D.C. Streets Act.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There is House Resolution 5214 on cash bail reform, and perhaps most controversially, House Resolution 5242. This bill aims to explicitly repeal the Second Chance Amendment Act of 2022 and the Incarceration Reduction Amendment Act of 2016. These were local D.C. laws intended to reduce mass incarceration, particularly for young offenders.
Right, and for our listeners who might not follow the procedural weeds, under the Home Rule Act of 1973, Congress retains ultimate authority over the district's laws. It's rare to see Congress micromanage to this specific degree, repealing specific local city council acts, but this signals that the House majority is making D.C. crime a national platform.
It brings up the age-old debate of autonomy versus oversight. While House Resolution 5183 is titled the District of Columbia Home Rule Improvement Act, the surrounding bills, like House Joint Resolution 142, which disapproves of D.C.'s recent Tax Conformity Act, suggest the improvement might mean tighter federal leashes, not looser ones.
It's a tug-of-war affecting over 700,000 residents. But Lenny, we have to pivot to the Rules Committee and Oversight Committee, because there is a procedural bomb dropping on Monday, February 2nd.
I assume you're referring to the Contempt of Congress reports.
I am. The Committee on Oversight and Government Reform has released reports recommending the House find William J. Clinton and Hillary R. Clinton in contempt of Congress. This is in relation to a refusal to comply with a subpoena.
That is momentous. For context, finding a former president in contempt is historically fraught territory. Procedurally, if the full House votes to approve this resolution, it acts as a referral to the Department of Justice, urging them to prosecute. However, the DOJ has discretion here. It's a collision of the branches of government we haven't seen escalate like this in years.
It certainly sets the tone for a contentious spring. But amidst that partisanship, I want to highlight the work being done in the Veterans Affairs Committee. On February 3rd and January 21st, they held massive legislative hearings covering over a dozen bills.
This is the substantive policy work that often gets buried. I was looking at House Resolution 1004, the Love Lives On Act of 2025. This is a crucial piece of legislation for surviving spouses of service members, ensuring they don't lose benefits if they remarry. It addresses a long-standing grievance in the veteran community.
They are also tackling the heavy stuff, suicide prevention. House Resolution 2878, named after Daniel J. Harvey Jr. and Adam Lambert, focuses on the transition period from active duty to civilian life, which data shows is a high-risk window for mental health crises. There's also House Resolution 1685, Justice for ALS Veterans. We've known for years that veterans are diagnosed with ALS at higher rates than the general population, likely due to service-related exposures.
It builds on the momentum of the PACT Act from a few years ago. It's good to see they are also discussing the Veterans Housing Promise Act in a discussion draft. With the housing market being what it is in 2026, guaranteeing affordable housing for those who served is a priority.
Moving from land to sea, and specifically the deep sea. The Natural Resources Committee is holding an oversight hearing titled Deep Dive regarding deep-sea mining.
This is a fascinating economic and environmental frontier. We have House Resolution 4090, the Critical Mineral Dominance Act, moving through as well. As the U.S. tries to wean off foreign supply chains for batteries and tech, the pressure to mine the ocean floor is growing. But the ecological impact is still largely unknown.
Speaking of the environment, there's a surprisingly high number of bird-related bills. House Resolution 3276 regarding local communities and bird habitat stewardship, and House Resolution 6021, the Archie Kavanagh Migratory Bird Treaty Amendment Act.
It sounds niche, Victor, but the Migratory Bird Treaty Act is one of our oldest environmental laws dating back to 1918. Updating it for 2026, balancing conservation with development, is actually quite significant for rural landowners and industry.
On the foreign policy front, we're seeing House Resolution 7036, the Data-Driven Diplomacy Act, and House Resolution 7016, the No Funds for NATO Invasion Act. That second title is aggressive. It suggests a bloc of the House is very wary of how NATO funds are being deployed, perhaps fearing mission creep in Eastern Europe or elsewhere.
And we shouldn't overlook House Resolution 1025, condemning violence against ethnic minorities in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The DRC crisis has been escalating, and this resolution signals that Congress is watching, even if it's just a statement of policy rather than a deployment of resources.
Finally, let's touch on personnel. The Senate has received several nominations. We see David Clay Howells nominated to be a U.S. District Judge for the Western District of Arkansas.
And Amanda Woodley Howe is being reappointed to the Occupational Safety and Health Review Commission. That's the independent agency that adjudicates disputes over OSHA citations. It's a technical role, but for any business owner or union leader listening, who sits on that commission determines how safety laws are actually enforced.
Exactly. It's the gears of government turning. So, Lenny, what should our listeners watch for in the next 48 hours?
Watch the floor vote on the D.C. disapproval resolution, House Joint Resolution 142. If that passes, it creates a showdown with the D.C. City Council. And obviously, keep an eye on the Rules Committee regarding those contempt resolutions for the Clintons. If that hits the floor, the debate will be explosive.
And keep an ear out for the Mystic Alerts Act, House Resolution 7022. We don't have the full text yet, but with a name like that, it's bound to be interesting. We'll be tracking the markup sessions and bringing you the updates.
That's it for this edition of Capital Catch-Up. Thanks for listening.
Stay informed, and we'll see you next time.